What's good, YouTube? In today's video, we are going to be ranking influencers' genetics. I selected 10 of my favorite fitness influencers and I'm going to rank their genetics 1 through 10. Like I said, these are just my favorite influencers. I'm not saying these influencers have the best genetics, but these are just my 10 favorite and these are who we are going to be ranking today. Today, we're going to be ranking Matthew Scri, Alex Eubank, Togi, Dr. Mike, Jeff Nippard, Hussein Farad, Coach Greg, Sam Suik, Jesse James, and Will Tennyson. It took me a few hours to make this list because it was pretty hard trying to rank them, especially considering some of them are natural and some of them are not. Because obviously the people who are enhanced are going to look better than the people who are not. But the way I evaluated it, I really tried to make it a level playing field for everybody. So without further ado, at number 10 on the list, we have Will Tennyson. Will Tennyson is a 100% natural athlete. He's been training for a very long time and he looks very good. You can clearly tell that he has a ton of muscle on his frame. His shoulders are huge, his chest is developed, his legs are very big. But you notice a few things. I noticed a few things right away that aren't the best genetic wise. First off, his waist is very blocky. His shoulder to waist ratio looks almost like 1-to-1. It doesn't look like his waist is any smaller than the width of his shoulders, which is something that you do not want when it comes to bodybuilding genetics. But even if he was enhanced, I just feel like the shape of his muscles and his waist to shoulder ratio is just too cooked in order for him to compete with other people on this list. At number 9 on the list, we got Dr. Mike Israetel. Dr. Mike was a super hard person for me to rank on this list. I definitely believe that if Mike was taller, his physique would look a lot more aesthetic. All of his muscles and proportions just wouldn't be so clumped up. And also when you're that short, you have a lot less surface area to put muscle onto your frame. And once again, his shoulder to waist ratio is not very good. It's definitely better than Will's. But once again, Dr. Mike looks insane in this photo. He was a really hard person for me to rank on this list. Coming in at number 8, we have Jesse James West. Jesse James is a 100% natural athlete. As you can see in this photo, he looks absolutely insane. He's super lean, his muscles are shaped very well. And I think he has most people's dream natural physique. But what I think holds Jesse James back on this list is the width of his shoulders and the shape of his chest. His chest insertions aren't very wide, so they don't really go that far this way and they kind of stop short in the middle. So his chest doesn't look as full as some other people on this list. And his shoulders are extremely narrow. He actually has a decently small waist, but because his shoulders look so small, it doesn't help the illusion with his waist. His waist looks average because his shoulders are so narrow. But for being a natural athlete, he has a really nice physique. I just think that God could have blessed him with some wider shoulders. Now coming in at number 7, we have Togi. Togi was also a hard person to rank on this list because he's almost never been natural. As soon as he started training, he hopped on gear and he talks about this a lot. And he also doesn't train that much. He trained enough to get jacked and to go viral on YouTube and TikTok and all that. But now if you really watch Togi's videos, he does not give a fuck about the gym. He really never goes to the gym. He just blasts a ton of gear. And some people think that you can just do gear and not really put in the work and look insane, but that's just not true. Most people who get on gear and don't put in the work, they look like shit. And honestly, a lot of people who are on gear and they still put in the work, they also look like shit. But Togi, he's on a lot of gear. He hasn't been training for that long, but he still looks absolutely insane. So that's definitely a big reason on why I have him at number 7 on this list. He's clearly just able to hold on to muscle and build muscle very fast, despite the fact that he is not a natural athlete. But his shoulders are also extremely wide and his waist is very narrow. When you look at Togi's physique in this photo, he looks insane. This is probably most people's dream physique. But there's people higher up on this list who are natural who honestly look just as good, if not better than him. So that's ultimately why I have Togi at number 7 on this list. But honestly, I think that if Togi took bodybuilding more seriously and he actually applied himself, he'd probably be higher on this list, but it's just hard to tell because if you don't really put in that work, you can't really tell how far your genetics are going to take you until you take it to that point. At number 6 on the list, we have Scri. Matthew is also 100% natural athlete. This is definitely a lot of people's dream physique. He's lean as fuck, his abs are popping, his shoulders are wide, he's got it all going on. If he was enhanced, I definitely think he would look better than Togi, and I definitely think that he would look better than Dr. Mike. And I also think that he looks better than Jesse James and Will Tennyson right now, so that's why I have him at number 6. But the reason that I have him under the top 5 people in this video is because I feel like, although he's very lean, his abs are popping and all that, the shape of his muscles and his symmetry is just a little off. As you can see, when you look at his abs, he's so lean, but you can see that like a lot of his abs are just like in different spots. That's just, you can't really do anything about that. That's 100% genetic. And the shape of his chest also isn't the best. It's like kind of flat, and he has like a little flat spot in the middle. His shoulders are super wide, but his waist isn't that small. But ultimately, the reason I have Scri at number 6 is because I just feel like the muscle that is on his body doesn't look as aesthetic as it does on other people above him on this list. Coming in at number 5, we have Jeff Nippard. Jeff Nippard is the first person on the list to crack the top 5. Jeff Nippard is 100% natural, and he's been training for a very long time. The reason I have him above Scri, they're both natural athletes, but I feel like when you look at Jeff Nippard's physique, it just looks more aesthetic. The muscles have a better shape, and the symmetry is just more symmetrical. Jeff Nippard also carries a lot more muscle in his legs. I don't know if that's just because he trains more or if he just has better leg genetics than Matthew. But his waist is also definitely smaller than Matthew's, and his shoulders are very wide. Jeff Nippard is very short, so that definitely takes a little bit away from his physique. He just simply can't have as much muscle on his frame as someone taller than him could. But I feel very comfortable putting Jeff Nippard at top 5. This guy looks insane. Now at number 4, we have Coach Greg. In this picture, Coach Greg claims that he was 100% natural. He said that he did over 100 bodybuilding shows completely natural before he hopped on gear, and he says that this is one of his very last ones before he hopped on gear. If this is true, this picture is unfathomable. The amount of muscle that he has on his frame for a natural athlete in this picture is honestly just ridiculous. And look at his vein on his left bicep. He's at like 4 or 5% body fat, and he has so much muscle on his frame for a natural athlete. I don't even know how this is possible. I don't think I've ever seen a person at 5% body fat natural with that big of legs. His shoulders are absolutely huge. His shoulders are very wide. His waist isn't the smallest. His waist definitely isn't the smallest, but all of his other body parts make up for that kinda. And how lean he is, that also makes up for it as well. Coach Greg also really loved bodybuilding. I think he took this the most serious out of anyone on the list. I'm not trying to just judge physiques in this video, because if I was just judging straight physiques, he would probably be one of the top because of just how much work he put into this. But there's people on this list with better genetics than him, but they just didn't apply themselves the way that Coach Greg did. Coach Greg loved the sport, and he went hard for years and years and years. Some of the people on this list haven't been training nearly as long, and they don't care about it as much as him. I have Coach Greg at number 4 because I feel like the top 3 people have better genetics than him. They just didn't apply themselves as much as he did. At number 3 on the list, we have Sam Suik. Sam Suik was also a hard person to rank because he hopped on gear when he was a teenager. So you never really got to see how his body was going to develop, especially because you're still growing and like going through puberty kind of at 19, 20 years old. So he was still getting bigger while he was hopped on gear. He was still just like growing into his body and growing into himself when he hopped on gear. So the pictures of him natural were when he was like a 15, 16, 17-year-old, and he just looked really small. So you can't really tell what he would look like naturally. But as you can see in this picture of him being enhanced, he's definitely got top tier genetics. His waist to shoulder ratio in this picture honestly just looks scary. I don't think I've ever seen someone with a wider back and bigger shoulders than this guy. It's just unreal. And I know he's pushing in his waist, but still, look how fucking small his waist looks compared to his shoulders. It doesn't even look real. You can't see Sam's legs in this photo either, but his legs are fucking huge. But the reason that I have Sam at number 3 is because I feel like the top 2 people on this list, they are both natural. I think that if the top 2 people on this list took bodybuilding as serious as Sam and hopped on gear, at the end of the day, they would look better than him. That's just my opinion. At number 2, we have Alex Eubank. I think I just said that Alex is natural. He was natural for like 7-8 years, I think, but obviously recently, I think a month or 2 ago, he hopped on gear. This picture of him was before he hopped on gear. Some people think that he wasn't natural before, but I honestly believe that he was. And if he was completely natural in this photo, I don't even know what to say. This is just godlike genetics. How full his chest is for how lean he is unreal. Like, I've never seen a natural person with as big of a chest as Alex Eubank. Alex's waist is also very small. His shoulders are very broad, very wide. His arms aren't that big, but he probably definitely could grow them. But for a natural athlete, how big he is, how much size he holds, and how lean he can get is insane. I know he recently went on testosterone, but it's hard to compare him to Sam Suik when he just hopped on testosterone, and Sam Sulik's been doing gear for like 3-4 years. Alex also claims that he's only on testosterone, so that also gives Sam Suik a boost. Alex also doesn't apply himself that much anymore like he used to. His first 6-7 years of lifting, he took it very seriously, but as of the last 2 years, he's kind of just been doing whatever he wants. He kind of explains how he's almost satisfied with his physique, so he doesn't take it as serious as he used to. As we know, Alex likes to focus on God and like achieving other goals in his life, which is awesome. But at number 1 on this list, I think everyone could agree with this, is Hussein Farad. If you still don't believe Hussein is 100% natural, I don't really know what to say to you. You're just a hater. Because honestly, if you watch his content and you watch Coach Greg's video, you can see how genuine they are about this. Like, they're literally willing to put up $50,000 if you're willing to pay for his test and go do it. He's literally already shown his blood work. People have already looked at his blood work, and all of the top people in the industry have confirmed that he's 100% natural. Based on his blood work, everybody believes he's 100% natural. He keeps saying he's 100% natural, and he's telling anyone that he's willing to take any test, anything. He's willing to take any drug test. He's willing to do any blood work. So if you're still unwilling to believe that he's natural, I think that you're just coping, and you're mad that you don't look as insane as him. But Hussein's waist is absolutely tiny and his shoulders are fucking huge. Despite symmetry, despite how aesthetic the shape of his muscles are, the amount of muscle that he put on in 3 years as a natural athlete, I don't think we've seen anything like this before. We have never seen a natural athlete put on this much muscle and get this lean and look this aesthetic in 3 years ever. After Hussein's trained for 5, maybe 10 years, I don't see how any person on the planet that I've seen so far could compete with him in a natural show. I think in 5 to 10 years, he's going to be light years ahead of any other natural athlete, at least any natural athlete that I've seen to this day. I have never seen anything like this. And if you watch Coach Greg videos, he hasn't seen anything like this either. He talks about it all the time. Hussein's now part of HTLT Supplements. He's a co-owner with Eric Janicki and Coach Greg. Shout out HTLT Supplements because they actually sponsored me as well. So if you need to go get your supplements, bro, if you want to look like Hussein, if you want to look like Coach Greg, go check out HTLT Supplements and use my code DEV, D-E-V. But yeah, that's my top 10 influencers. These are all my favorite influencers, and that's how I think their genetics lay out. I think Hussein by far has the best genetics on the list, and I think that unfortunately Will, who still looks amazing, he probably has the worst genetics in this list. If you liked the video, please drop a like for your boy, consider subscribing, and I'll see y'all next time.